It's because it's so fresh. Like I lived it. Like it was
Yeah.
like we filmed it like 3-4 weeks ago, and it came out like that next week. I was like, okay, I don't need to. I know what happens here. I know what they say.
What has life looked like for you since the reunion? I mean, I think it's so many people can't wrap their head around that it was like a year and a half ago that you guys filmed this show. So what has life kind of looked like for you, and since cameras stopped rolling?
Yeah, it's been hard to like deal with going through all those emotions all over again. Because like you said, it was a year and a half ago. So watching the show and dealing with the reunion and sitting down and like seeing Nancy again, it's like it's been hard to not let myself get back into that mindset that I was in a year and a half ago. And unfortunately, I have gotten back to that mindset a little bit where it's like, damn, like going through all those feelings again and like not second guessing, but just like reliving it.
Yeah.
Because it was so like impactful and so stressful and like drawn out. But since then, it's just been like kind of reflective and looking back on everything and trying to learn from it and using it just like any other experience in your life that means something. Like hopefully you can find some growth and move on.
Definitely. And I'm sure reliving it with now the public opinion has been a whole different type of challenge. So what has that public opinion been like for you? And has that been difficult for you to deal with too?
It has been difficult. It started off difficult the first few weeks just because everybody wants to put their 2 cents in. The public opinion was very mixed. I got a lot of love, but also a lot of hate. And I think, it's been helpful for me to just take all the love and hate with a grain of salt. Like nobody knows me like I know me. Nobody knows me like my family knows me or like my close loved ones know me. And so I'm not going to really listen to all the negative DMs or the positive DMs that I'm getting because they're seeing such a small snippet of what I went through over the course of 2 months in maybe like, I don't know, I was on the screen for 2 hours. So there's no way that that's going to tell the world who Bartise Bowden is.
Right. I think, I don't know if it was a video that you posted about all the different names that people are coming up with you though.
Yeah, that's actually, like I'm trying to take this all to the chin, like all the bad stuff that people are saying, like just brush it off my shoulder. And like, honestly, like making fun of myself with it is so fun for me. And like the haters hate it because they're like, why is this guy smiling and laughing about this? He should be hurting. Like, what do you want me to do? Sit here and cry over something that happened a year and a half ago? Like, no, I'm not going to do that. So
definitely. No, I mean, looking back at it, do you regret, your time on the show at all? Like if you had the opportunity, would you ever do something like this all over again?
So with that question, here's what I say, I don't regret going on the show. I would always do it once, but I would never do it again. I think you go through so much and you learn so much one time that it's like the marginal benefit of doing it again would not be there. But doing it the first time is like a massive, learning opportunity, a massive opportunity to make friends, like exposure. Like it's incredible to do it once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, obviously the process does work for some people. So do you believe that, love is blind and that this process does work?
I think the process works for me. I don't think the ultimate goal, the ultimate episode, right, is the wedding, right? That's what everybody thinks. Oh, you're going into this to get married. I think the goal for everybody is to find out, can you fall in love with somebody based on who they are on the inside and have somebody fall in love with you for who you're on the inside. So I think for me, the goal, the show worked. It didn't end in marriage. However, the show is not a failure for me or for Nancy.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. I mean, what was your relationship like with Nancy in the interim, in that year and a half before we saw the show, and what's been your relationship like with her post reunion?
I've answered this question a couple times, and on the show you'll see our roller coaster kind of as far as love story progress. After the show, there's no longer this love story, but there still is a roller coaster. We took probably 3 to 4 weeks after wedding day. It did not communicate at all. You saw it unfold on camera. She was like, she ripped her bracelet off. She's like, I don't want to talk to you ever again. Like there's nothing romantic for us going forward. And of course, me having just left the altar saying I do not, like, okay, I respect that. Like that sucks, but because we had this great story and this great connection, but who knows? So I respected that. And then a month later, she texted me and said, hey, can we like talk and kind of decompress together and go through everything. So we spent like 5 hours at Cheesecake Factory together, having dinner and drinks and just talking. And we decided to move forward, trying to be friends. So fast forward a few more months. Now we're both in other relationships. We're both dating other people. And I found it hard to maintain the level of friendship that Nancy wanted with me, while I was also trying to be respectful of a new girl I was dating, because she would get jealous that I was talking to Nancy. I remember specifically, like, I'd be driving in my Jeep and the CarPlay would pop up and it said like Nancy Rodriguez sent you a text message. Oh, that would set off.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That would be like a jealousy component. So I had to you know, pick and choose my battles. So it was just hard for me to manage being that close of a friend with an ex versus having a new girlfriend that's not okay with it. And then God forbid they were ever in the same room at the same time, which did happen. It's just not good. So then we progressed into not talking and not being friends, back to being acquaintances, back to being like, okay, you know, like we're going to go to the reunion and everything. It's going to like, do you want to be talking? It's a hard situation to be. As of right now, I would say we're cordial, we're acquaintances, but we're not texting every day.
No, I mean, were you ever, I don't know if this is too personal, were you ever romantic during that time post-split, or was it just strictly we're friends?
No, it never progressed anything romantically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, going to the wedding night and things like that, I mean, you know, obviously she said that she was blindsided, but like, did she really tell you like 2 weeks before the wedding that she was not ready to get married and that you said no and like begging her for another chance? Did that really happen?
Then I said no, saying what?
I think she said in an interview that she told you 2 weeks before the wedding that she was going to say no. And
yeah, so that did happen. Okay. That was, so I don't know if you remember the scene where like we're having this argument at home and it was after the group party. Right. And then I go leave and I talk to Matt, like we'll talk him off his ledge. I think that next morning we were both like not having it. And we're just like, you know what? Like we were both checked out. Because visibly I was no. And she was the one that said it to me. She's like, hey, this is like not going to work. And so she was like, yeah, if my answer was right now, it's going to be a no. And then so that kind of like encouraged me to go back to where I was in the pods and like remind myself who I fell in love with, and show her who I was in the pods and try and like this last ditch effort to make these last 2 weeks kind of work. And then we fast forward, and then the last 2 weeks were great, right? And we had nothing wrong happened, you know, after that traumatic night with Andrew coming back and me going to fight with Matt. Nothing bad happened after that. So yeah, we get to the altar and it's like, okay, do I want to weigh this decision on just the last 2 weeks, or do I need to look at the last 6 weeks and everything together? Because if it was just based on the last 2 weeks, you know, it looks good. You know what I'm saying? It looks good. Mm-hmm. And so that was hard. But no, and I think that's where the blindsiding comes from, because it was such a great past 2 weeks leading up to the altar. And that's why I said, like, who knows if our wedding day wasn't July 1st, 2021, if it was July 15th, 2021, you know, that's a completely different story. Yeah.
I mean, so were you surprised that she said yes at all?
I was like, I had no idea what she was going to say. I was 50-50. I was like, this girl could say yes, she could say no. 2 weeks ago, she said no.
Right.
And today she's saying yes. So I'm like, whoa. And which is why I brought up the whole point after when we're sitting on the staircase and she rips the thing off. I'm like, you realize you're cutting me off right now, even though you just said yes to spending the rest of your life with me. Mm-hmm. Like, how does that make any sense? Which, I mean, in hindsight, that was just a very emotional display from her, because she reached out to me, you know, 3 weeks later. So it is what it is. But I mean, I was not blindsided by her yes, but I didn't know what to expect. Right.
Were you hopeful, like in your no, were you hopeful that like, oh, maybe we can continue to date after this?
That was the plan. That was my plan. I was like, I'm not ready to say yes for the rest of my life with you right now, but who knows, if we keep going romantically, then who knows what we could be. Because I know what we had, like there was that spark there still.
Sure.
You know, but she didn't want that, and we moved on.
Yeah. Do you think if her family didn't get involved, that maybe there would have been a different conversation?
That was a whole mess. That was a big mess. I think we both left. We were both very emotional when the family was involved, and even my family got in there. And I think we both walked away and were able to calm down on that walk to the inside area where the stairs were. But yeah, if we didn't have that long walk, who knows what would have been said, because I was fuming. I was like, and I don't really get mad. And I was so upset, because that was supposed to be me and Nancy's moment. Mm-hmm. It was really supposed to be my moment to explain to her what was going on, and her to like be able to grasp that information, and the family getting involved. Like they didn't know, her family didn't know me. Yeah. Her family didn't know me at all. And my family didn't know her. They met her for maybe 2 hours. Like we knew each other. So that was not for my family to get in, for my groomsmen to get involved. It was not for her family to get in, them get involved. It was literally for me and Nancy. And that's why I asked her at the altar, like, do you want to talk about this here, or like, should we go somewhere else? And she's like, mm-mm. So we walk outside and then we get bombarded. And I'm like, this is not supposed to be happening.
No,
it made for great TV. I'm sure everybody at home loved it. But
I was like, oh my God, are fists going to be flying here? Like, is there going to be a fight?
I get a big DM like that every day. It's like, oh, I wish that brother swung at you. I'm like, okay, well, I wish he did too.
Do you regret any of that? Like how you spoke to her family or things like that? Or like, do you know if they regret kind of getting involved?
No, I don't think they regret it. I regret like raising my voice to her mom. Like that should never be done. But like with it, at the heightened emotional state that we were all in, like I think all those reactions make sense.
Sure.
And everything could have been handled differently, but given the state and the timing that we were in, and that being their baby girl, the younger daughter, and me being this guy that seemingly brought everybody together, like it all makes sense. However, like if I have a younger sister, I'm actually in her room right now. I'm home in San Antonio. And if she was in that predicament that Nancy was in, I would feel the same way. I'd have the same emotions, but I would not react like that.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely.
But at the same time, like they knew what their daughter signed up for. My family knew what I signed up for.
Right. No, that's so true. I mean, I like that at the reunion that you said, like watching it back, you were rooting for your relationship. I thought that was like such a nice thing to say. Cause like looking back at it as a viewer, you're like, yeah, you want to see this work. Yeah.
The way it worked was we flew to LA, we had a little iPad and they separated us all individually. So we watched it all by ourselves. Okay. And I think I watched episodes 5 through 11 in like 6 hours straight on my bed before we filmed the reunion the next day. And I was like, I was a mess. I was watching this like, cause 1 through 6, it doesn't look good. It's like, what the hell is this couple doing? But then 7 through 10, it's like, wow, they went through a complete 180. And I was like really cheering myself. I was like, I know what I said. I lived it. I did this 1.5 years ago, but I'm watching like, oh my God, please say yes, please. I was like, how am I feeling this way? And that was what I was so worried about. Because of the timing, because it was 1.5 years ago, I did not want to go back through all these emotions again. And I remember laying in my bed, like on my stomach, just bawling, like, holy, like, 1, how the hell did I do this? And 2, like, you know, I don't want to, like, I would not change my decision, but it makes you question it. It's like, damn, you know, because of, like I said, those last 2 weeks, how happy we looked. Yeah.
Do you question it now, being this far removed?
No, I don't question it now. I don't question it now. I'm happy with my life and with my decision. I think Nancy is too. I think looking back on it, I think she's thanked me for making the best decision for both of us. You know, I mean, this is all hypothetically speaking, but had you have said yes, do you think the two of you would still be together? Yes, I do, because that's part of the reason why I said no, is because I only want to make that decision one time. And so like we would have been, if it had been good or bad, you know, let's say I say yes and we encounter problems or whatever, like we're sticking together. Like we're not having her parents are divorced, my parents are divorced. I'm not going through that. Yeah. So yes, if I said yes, we would still be together. Definitely. Did you know at the reunion that the whole hookup with somebody new so soon after the breakup was going to be brought up? And was that ever something that you and Nancy discussed off camera during that? That was, yeah. So I didn't know it was going to be brought up, but I did. Nancy knew everything about that. Nancy, that was probably part of the reason why she wanted to talk to me 3 weeks after, because she probably found out about that. So we talked about that at length. At the Cheesecake Factory dinner that I talked about earlier for like 5 hours. And so I explained everything about that with her. And so she knew everything. And then we continued to be friends after that. Right. And so I think I don't know why she brought it up 1.5 years later, maybe to like point me out or like call me out on some BS, whatever, but she knew about all of that. Yeah. Were you disappointed that it was brought up again? No, because I mean, I'm not disappointed. Like that, I did it. That's my story. Like I'm owning up to it. I'm not like, oh, it didn't happen. No, I'm not disappointed. And I can see how that's hurtful towards Nancy. I'm more disappointed that like I was single. You told me you don't want anything to do with me. Like, why is this such a big deal? Because seemingly it wasn't a big deal for the whole year that we were friends, right? And now we're at this reunion. You're bringing it up to like, I don't know, like out me or poke at me. And now you're having all the girls band together and like come at me too. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. but it is what it is.
It is what it is. I know Nancy said that she appreciated your brutal honesty, but do you ever regret telling her that looks don't matter? When you watched back at that show, did you kind of cringe at that moment?
Oh my God, I was cringing. I was like watching like this. Oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like my mom's gonna watch this. Oh my goodness. I regret the way I said it. I definitely regret the way I said it, but I don't regret feeling how I felt because I'm a human being. You know, I was 25 years old and I had those feelings and those concerns and those worries and those doubts and the happiness, all the good stuff too. I felt all that, and it's something I've continued to try and work on is expressing that in a better way, especially the bad stuff, like expressing something that you need to share with somebody that's going to hurt them in a way that is not disrespectful and insensitive. And so that's probably the biggest takeaway I've had from this whole experience is one, giving myself a freaking filter, because I don't have that. But two, being mindful of the way that I'm communicating with the people that I love negative information.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'll reiterate this. I don't regret feeling that way. And I think I don't know if they aired, I didn't watch the full reunion, but I don't know if they aired this either. Cole and I kind of shared a similar, where we don't have a filter.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to explain to him, like, dude, like, because I think he said he regretted it. And I'm like, dude, you know what? Like, don't say you regret it. Just like be man enough to look at it and accept what happened and learn from it and move on. Like this, at the end of the day, use this as a learning experience to hopefully find your forever person and be better than both of us were to our fiancés at the time.
Definitely. Why didn't you watch the full reunion?
It's because it's so fresh. Like I lived it. Like it was like we filmed it like 3-4 weeks ago, and it came out like that next week. I was like, okay, I don't need to. I know what happens here. I know what they say.
I get it. I know what happens. I mean, you brought up Cole, and obviously that was a really tough reunion for him. I mean, I think you posted a picture with him recently. Do the two of you communicate a lot, and how is he feeling since the show?
Oh yeah.
It looked like he went through it.
Yeah, he went there. We actually stayed in a hotel together after filming the reunion in LA for a few days. So yeah, I hang out with Cole a lot. I hang out with Matt a lot too. He's better. We were both pretty low just because he was having those same emotions when we were individually watching on the iPads. And we both took it pretty hard, and we didn't know how to react, and we didn't know how to deal with all the emotions coming our way, mainly the hate. But we had each other, and like we've talked almost every day, and he's my boy, and I'll just say he's doing a lot better than he was. And so
yeah. What did you think of the cutie scene? Did you watch that?
I did watch that.
What was your reaction?
You know, I also love Zenab. I love both of them individually. I do not love them together, which probably everybody agrees with at this point. And I think one, that was Cole being Cole. And two, it's not that I don't believe Zenab, it's that like I think there were a lot of little things that Cole might have said to get under her skin. To at the naked eye, you know, it shouldn't be a huge problem. But when you like, if I had like a scale here and I just added a little thing, like Zenab can only take too much in that scale. She can only take too much Cole. And so the example that she used over and over again, and I know this all because Nancy and Zenab would hang out during filming, and so they would have their little vent sessions, and then Nancy would come back to me and she would tell me everything. So I'd heard about this cutie story like time and time again. And I think it was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. And so that's why she kept harping on it. But that situation individually, I don't think it looked bad for Cole at all. You know, I think when you take the conglomerate of maybe comments that he might have made along the way towards Zenab, and Zenab's not the most secure woman as is, right? So like that is going to be an issue for her. It's just hard for her to explain it because she put so much weight on this one situation that doesn't look bad. But in actuality, who are we to tell her like what somebody says makes her feel?
Sure. So. Yeah, no. Did you notice a difference in the two of them from the start of filming to the end? Because I spoke to Matt and Colleen recently, and they said that Zenab was like a shell of a human being at the end of filming. Did you notice that as well between the two of them?
No, I didn't notice her being a shell, but I mean, I'm sure like anytime we were filming and I was around, it was like in a group setting, so you had to like kind of put a mask on if stuff was bad because you wouldn't want to let the other individuals know that you guys were going through struggles. And Cole was the same throughout, so I I don't know when they were saying that they saw. I mean, obviously Colleen hung out with Zainab a lot more than I did. So if Colleen saw that, then I guess that bears more ground. Than I never saw Zainab being a shell of human.
Yeah. Do you feel like you got off a bit easy at the reunion compared to Cole, or was it just as difficult?
Everybody's been saying that.
Yeah.
I think we were both attacked. They aggressively attacked Cole. Okay, but here's the deal. Cole was like fighting back. I sat there and I was like, "You guys are right. Like, listen, whatever you're saying, like, I literally did. So, you're gonna beat a dead horse at this point, and we're moving on." Like and I think Nancy brought this up. I don't know if they heard it, but she was like, the difference between Bartise and Cole was like, Bartise was brutally honest and kind of an asshole to your face. Like, and he's like sitting here saying, yes, he did everything. Meanwhile, it was like the girls had this thought that Cole was more deceitful and like undermining. So he was there defending himself. I was just there like, you guys are right, I'm only up to it. So they couldn't attack me as aggressively because I don't think I gave them opportunity to.
Yeah. No, I mean, Nancy did commend that you were brutally honest throughout the entire thing. Like whatever you're saying, to somebody else, you said it to her face. So, yeah. I mean, that is true. I mean, what really happened at the bachelor party when cameras weren't rolling?
Shit. Like Brennan said, Brennan had a tally of shots and beers. So he had like 20 beers and like 17 shots. We were all hammered. I don't remember a lot that happened. I don't even remember if Cole was there or not. And that's the honest truth. I was there with my two buddies. I know Brennan was there. I really can't remember if Cole was there or not, though.
Oh, that's so funny.
But it was just a lot of drinking and a lot of drinking at party.
A lot of drinking.
There was no strippers involved, so I'm gonna say that the girls had the strippers.
The girls did have the strippers. Obviously, big news. Love is Blind news that Raven and SK have broken up. I mean, what's your reaction to that?
Their relationship really was like the most secretive, I guess. So I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on that. I'll say that, like, here's the deal. I went through a public kind of blow up with my wedding, and I know the negativity that can come both ways. So my thoughts are both with Raven and SK. And that's all I'll say about that. Yeah.
Have you reached out to either one of them at all?
No, they want their space. I saw a post they made this morning. They're going through like legal proceedings or whatever. They want their space. So it's not my spot to reach out to them. Like I've come in between their relationship, plenty of times already. I'm gonna butt my head in there now.
Yeah. Was that hard for you to watching your interaction with Raven at that meetup and, seeing what she said about you afterwards too?
That was the part where I was watching like this. That's definitely one of those parts. But like I said, I did it and I watched it and I wouldn't do it again, but I guess I'll always do it once to learn from it. It was definitely hard and cringeful and embarrassing to watch. I feel bad about that. Yeah. I definitely feel bad about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you happy or surprised that they decided to keep dating after the wedding?
Raven and SK?
Yeah.
I was indifferent. I was a little shocked because no, first of all, I don't think anybody thought SK was going to say no.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
And then he did. And so it's like, whoa. It's kind of like, how come Raven didn't feel how Nancy felt when it was like the whole wipe your hands clean, be done kind of thing.
Right.
So I think that's what was shocking to me. Because if Nancy felt that way when she was unsure of what I was going to say, and Raven feels differently when she's fairly certain what SK is going to say, I guess comparing those two girls isn't really fair, but I was shocked that they decided to continue to date.
Yeah. Are you happy for Matt and Colleen, Alexa and Brennan, that they're still going strong?
Yeah, they're still doing their thing. I think Brennan and Alexa are trying to have kids now, so that's awesome.
That's amazing.
But Matt's my boy. I hang out with Matt at least once a week. So yeah, I see him all the time and I'm so happy for them. I also love Colleen. They're really good together.
Yeah. Do you guys all still remain, for the most part, pretty close? Because obviously you weren't expecting this, maybe weren't expecting to get engaged going into this, and then your whole life completely changes pretty much overnight. So is it like a strong bond that you all share together?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a big, pro into doing this whole thing is the connection that you make, not only with a potential, person forever, but with friends.
Yeah.
And like the guys in the lounge, we grew so close together because it was 15 of like Dallas's macho men or whatever, but here we are crying together in the lounge over dating the same girls. So, and me and Matt and Cole all went through all that together with Brandon SK even. But yeah, the bond that I think I'm closest with Matt and Cole, but everybody, I'm close with everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
There are some people that don't hang out and whatever, but like, actually, Cole says it best. Cole's like, man, if Bartise is there, he's kind of the glue of this whole thing. Like everybody's cool to hang out with everybody when I'm there.
Right. Have Cole and Zena, have they talked at all since the reunion, or is that done?
No, maybe a couple texts, but that's
pretty much
that's how it was after wedding day too, though. Like that was their wedding day was literally the end of them.
Yeah. No, definitely. You know, circling back to the show, obviously a conversation that you and Nancy had that got a lot of people talking was the discussion about family planning and things like that. Were you ever worried about how that conversation was going to be received?
Oh, yeah. I was definitely worried because that's such a like politically polarizing topic. So I was definitely worried. And they even warned us about it before, like a couple of weeks before the show aired. They're like, hey, so we decided we're going to air this. Think about what you're going to say. I was like, oh, shit, okay. I don't remember what I said. It was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I'm proud of Nancy and myself for having that conversation because, you know, as we're sitting there and Netflix does such a good job at portraying these relationships, like we don't know that it's being filmed, but we're sitting there and there's two huge cameras like pointing at us and we're talking about abortion. And it's like, okay, are we gonna like actually get into this right now, or are we like gonna be, you know, kind of sheltered and not communicative about this? But that's why I'm proud of both of us for like saying our opinions and not giving a care what these cameras are going to be thinking or what the 80 million people that watch Love Is Blind are going to be thinking. Like we were having a normal conversation that needs to be had in a relationship, but that does not need to be public. But we were having that private conversation as publicly as you can. And we disagreed and we were mature and respectful of each other throughout. And so like I commend Nancy for doing that.
I do too. Like you said, it's a conversation that, you know, is never really made public about what goes behind closed doors. And you guys were both very honest and candid. And I thought handled it, you know, really, really well. For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.